Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of my video blog series. I am your host, Nick Renard, and today we are going to be talking about SEM and PPC advertising advanced match types. This is actually going to be I'm not sure how many parts this series is going to be, but I've gotten a lot of campaigns over the past few years of working as a PPC tech, and a lot of times when I get handed campaigns, I look through the structure and I kind of see how the previous advertising agency or whoever was trying to manage those campaigns, how they built those, and I've noticed a lot of patterns and a lot of things that were just kind of done wrong, and I've kind of drawn a lot of parallels over the years and started to figure some things out. So I wanted to talk about some of the today we're going to be talking about brand name. You can see it says part 1 brand name. I'm going to be talking about the actually I'll go to the next slide here. Here are the topics. We're going to be talking about how bidding on your brand name or not bidding on your brand name affects each one of these. So the search query results page, how it looks different if you bid or don't bid on there, and kind of some of the advantages behind that. Optimizing your ad copy and how organic ads versus paid ads will show up. We're going to be talking about something that I call ad stacking, which is a form of bullying out your competitors, which is a good way to, I guess, capitalize on the on higher conversion rates for your brand name. We're going to be talking about the total cost because, I mean, we're all in business, so money is everything. And so we're going to be talking about what it costs us. Some of the external advantages of bidding on brand name, and then lastly, towards the end of this, I'm actually going to be diving into the actual match type. You'll recall that the original title was Advanced Match Types, but only at the end I'll start talking about match types, and then the parts 2 and 3 and whatever other parts I create after this, I'll also talk about match types more in depth than those. But I do want to start with brand name because this has been kind of a controversial topic that I've had with a lot of clients where I advise them to go one way and they a lot of times they don't listen to me, but you know, they pay us, so we got to do what they want. So, but anyways, we're going to talk about that and let's get started. So, why don't people bid on brand name? The first one here, I'm just going to read it off, says people theorize that someone looking up their brand name will automatically find them regardless of whether or not there's a paid ad up there. And you'll see that I put the word falsely in parentheses there. I think that this theory is very false. In fact, I've tested this with several clients in the past who had this theory that said, okay, well, if someone is going to be looking up my brand name, then they're going to get to my website no matter what. The problem with this theory is that it actually makes sense, that someone looking up your name is going to find you because that's what they're looking for. The problem is that what people don't realize is that once they look up your name, if you're not bidding on your brand name, and if your industry or let's say your brand name is very popular, a lot of your competitors can actually bully out your name and make it so that you don't even show up above the fold because you're so far down buried under all the paid ads that they can see, you know, up to 6, 7, 8 other competitors before they actually see your name. So even though they looked up your brand name, and maybe they will scroll down and actually look for you because that is what they're looking for. But a lot of people, and I've noticed that when we stopped bidding on brand name, that there was it's give or take, but about 70% leakage on traffic. So only about 30% of that actually funnels how people think it would, and then the other 70% actually gets lost, probably because they end up going to another competitor page and they're like, oh, look, they have better prices, or I like their checkout process, or, you know, this is good enough, and they just go with them. Anyways, moving on. Second point here, if your brand name is really big, like if you're Nike or someone like that, you don't even necessarily have to be that big, but if your brand name is relatively big, then the budget for your brand name advertisement can be very expensive. So a lot of people don't realize that once they start creating all these campaigns, that the generic traffic search queries versus their brand name traffic search queries, I mean, brand name can be like 70% of your ad spend if you let it in some cases. And a lot of people, that happens with them, and they're like, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be investing 70% of my ad spend into brand name advertisement. And that's understandable. I actually, I totally understand that, people want to allocate their budget a certain way. They want to try new things out. And that kind of leads into the third one here that says bidding on brand name is boring and there's not a lot to learn from it. That's very true. Bidding on brand name is a good investment, but it is very boring, and you don't learn anything from it. So if you do have to invest 70% of your budget into brand name advertisement, uh, that money is not being allocated towards other platforms or other networks like remarketing or Bing or Yahoo or Amazon or LinkedIn or sponsored updates or any other thing that Facebook, any other thing that we could be trying with that money to see if there's other platforms that actually convert for them. And we call that diversification. We want to diverse our forms of advertisement because we don't necessarily just want to sink all of our money into one thing. So I'm not advocating that you should be bidding everything on brand name,